When I say comfort food, what comes to your mind first? Maybe it's a warm, delicious soup this time of year, or maybe it's a bowl of chicken and dumplings. Maybe it's just that nice side of mashed potatoes or the gooey, cheesy mac and cheese. Whatever it is, it's sure to be something to warm the body, fill the belly, and just comfort the soul. Today, I'm going to share one that's a classic here in the Midwest, specifically Indiana, and that's chicken and noodles. This dish is sure to please everybody at the table, and I'm going to walk you through step by step just how to make it. Here you see all the ingredients that you'll need for classic chicken and noodles. You have celery, carrots, onion, some chicken broth or chicken stock, cream of chicken soup, chicken, and noodles. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my vegetables all diced and ready. So I'm going to take my celery and carrots and onion and just dice them up really fine. For this recipe, I'm going to use the term recipe very loosely today, by the way. It's more of a method than a recipe. But for this particular time, I'm going to take 2 ribs of celery and dice those up pretty fine. I'm going to take 1 carrot, do the same with it, and 1 onion. This particular combination is the base for so many soups and stews and other recipes. And it's not really so much that you get such a veggie content. Yeah, it gives you a little extra veggies, but it's more that it imparts such good flavor and it's just such a good base to the dish. And and these are the things you see in a classic chicken noodle soup as well. This dish is very similar to a chicken noodle soup. It's really the only difference is the consistency. And so when you start with this base of celery, carrots, and onion, you just have such a good foundation of flavor. While I'm dicing up all of these vegetables, I've got my pot on the stove heating up, and I've put just a little bit of oil in it to coat the bottom of the pan so that once I finish dicing everything, it's all hot and ready to go ahead and get started sauteing the vegetables. If you keep these items on hand in your refrigerator and pantry, the celery, carrots, onion, and even garlic as well, though it's not essential, but if you keep these things in stock, you have so many things at your fingertips that you are ready to make. They are just the base. As I mentioned, so many soups and stews. You can make chicken pot pie and all kinds of things with these. And it's just the classic, as the term I believe is the mirepoix. It's kind of a fancy French word, but it really just means these 3 items that you see me chopping up here, the celery, carrots, and onions, because they are such a classic combination for so many things. And one of the beautiful things about these items is they are so cost effective. I mean, the cost in just these items you see here is less than $1. And really, this dish as a whole is probably one of the most budget friendly items you could make, especially for the amount that it makes, the quantity of food that you get out of it. We'll do a little cost breakdown in just a little bit. But if you keep these items stocked in your pantry and add fresh celery, carrots, onions to your dishes, what they provide and add in flavor to a dish, I think far outweighs the money you spend on them. They just provide a lot of bang for the buck, so to speak. Now that I have all my veggies diced up and I've had my oil heating up in my pot, I am ready to get everything into the pot and I'm going to saute. So I'm going to let these veggies saute for probably about 10 minutes. I like to get the veggies pretty soft in this particular dish. Once the veggies are finished, we'll add the chicken broth in just a few minutes, you'll see. and it won't take long for everything to come together. You really just heat the broth up until it boils and then add your noodles, and they don't cook very long. It doesn't take pasta very long to get tender. And so you really want your veggies mostly done by the time you add your chicken broth in, because they're not going to have a whole lot of time like they would in a traditional soup or stew that might stay on the stovetop for an hour, say. So I do like to get them pretty soft before we get to the point of adding everything else in. But you'll see I come back every couple minutes and just give it a stir and check to see how soft they are. And we're going to add the broth in as soon as we get it to a point that it's soft. Now, as I mentioned, everything here is more of a method as opposed to a recipe. You'll see we're adding the broth now, and so I'm adding 4 cups of broth initially, but I end up adding 4 more cups of broth because I wait until I get my noodles in, and I want to make sure they are fully submerged in the liquid. You don't want a lot of extra broth, but you do want the noodles to all be in the broth and cook in the broth. And it will soak up the vast majority of it. There will be a little bit left. So they're just slightly liquid, but this is more of a thicker dish as opposed to a soup. And so in order to achieve that, we want just enough liquid, just enough broth to cover all of the noodles. Here you see the broth is coming to a nice rolling boil, coming up to temperature, so I am ready to add my noodles. I'm using a traditional egg noodle. I say traditional, in this pot, I'm actually using a whole wheat noodle. I'm cooking this for a friend who has just recently had a baby, and there's some food allergy or food sensitivities there. And so I'm using actually a whole grain. I think I said whole wheat, but this is a whole grain noodle in this pot. So, but they make a whole grain egg noodle, so that's what we're using here. I just typically use a traditional egg noodle in mine. And what you don't see off camera is I actually split the broth and the vegetables into 2 different pots. And I'm cooking a second pot, one for us to have at home, and then this pot to share with friends. But I wanted to keep everything separate so that they have the noodles that they need for their dietary restrictions. And so once everything is up to a boil, I've submerged all of the noodles without too much excess broth, but I get everything at a nice simmer now. Then I add a large can of cream of chicken soup. So that's what you see going in the pan right now into the pot. And just give that a nice stir. And this is what's going to give your chicken noodles a real creamy consistency. It just really adds so much to the dish and makes it so yummy and delicious. So once everything is up to a nice rolling boil, including your noodles, then I typically add my chicken. So the chicken is fully cooked. I've used rotisserie chicken in this particular pot. You can use whatever chicken you like, but I went that particular morning to Sam's Club, grabbed one of their rotisserie chickens, pulled it off the bone while it was nice and warm, and just chopped it up. You can shred your chicken if you like it. You can chop it, dice it, however you want it. It's completely up to your preference. Just a note that you ought to keep an eye on everything at this point. And if it looks like you're running low on liquid, just add a little bit to the pot. Add a little broth or even just some water. And at the end, just check your seasonings to see how it is, because you can always add a little bit if you need it. Once your pasta has finished, your dish is ready. There you have a classic pot of chicken and noodles. It is so delicious, and as I mentioned earlier, so cost effective. The ingredients of this totaled around $12, and you get more than 12 servings, hearty adult size servings. So this is such a budget friendly way to feed your family. Okay, here you have it. We have our bowl of homemade chicken and noodles. Doesn't that look delicious? I'm ready to dig in. Wow, that is delicious. Definitely comfort food. It's so much like chicken and noodle soup, except you eat it with a fork. It doesn't have all the broth, and it's just nice and creamy, which is one of the best features of a comfort food, I think. One more bite. Yeah, that's that's great. I hope you'll make this. It's such a basic dish. It's not complicated at all, and it uses ingredients that you may have on hand already. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you'll consider subscribing to my channel and give this video a like if you want more content like this. Go try this recipe and let me know what you think. And be sure to watch other videos like this on my channel.